Welcome to Under the Sisterhood, where we honor female experiences. During each episode, I will have intimate conversations with women of all ages to get under the hood of their individual journeys through womanhood. Together, we'll pursue the many aspects of the female experience, creating a sacred space for women to share their stories, their ideas, and their wisdom. This is a podcast to celebrate women and recognize all that they do in our world. I'm Elizabeth Elfenbein. Let's get under the hood. Today, I'd like to welcome and honor Doaa Fahmy. Doaa is a mother, daughter, sister, friend, a multilinguist world traveler, and a human resources leader at an international Fortune 500 company. She is an Egyptian woman who works in multiple countries, including France, the United States, and Egypt, and on behalf of talent around the globe with diversity, equity, and inclusion at the core. I couldn't be more delighted to be getting under the hood with Doaa today. Welcome.
How are you, Elizabeth?
Good. I'm so excited to be getting under the hood with you. This is going to be a really interesting and very special conversation. So why don't we get right into it?
Perfect. Let's do it.
Okay. So it's a very general question, but it's a very big one. So, which is, what does being a woman mean to you, Doaa?
Elizabeth, like a question like this, I think when we were young, we didn't think about it enough. And as we grow older and see so many women around us, we sort of reflect and understand a little bit more about it now. And in my mind, I think a woman as a person, I mean, versus men or others, is someone who doesn't only think about herself and is someone who feels completely accountable for so many others. And she doesn't always put herself first, unfortunately. And when she's a mother, then the kids sort of take a priority. And when she's married, the man probably takes a priority. And when she has parents, she thinks of the parents. And when she's a manager and she has a team, she thinks often about this team. And when she's living in a building, she thinks about the neighbors. So I think the woman is a person by definition who thinks about other people, and she feels responsible sometimes too much, and not necessarily that herself comes first. So this what comes to my mind first. I probably can think of other things, but for now, this is what comes to my mind.
Wow, I think that's a really beautiful answer and really interesting answer. And I think you're right. And I like the way you were able to articulate the different people or types of people who come before the woman and who she feels responsible for. So love thy neighbor, the husband, the children, anything, the team. Couldn't agree more that you just are always considering people beyond yourself. So I think that's a beautiful articulation of what being a woman means. The female experience, it's a really interesting thought. What has your female experience been like? And there's a little add-on, which is, at what was that inflection point where you began to feel like a woman?
That's a great question, and like my answer might be a strange answer, but I'm Egyptian, and in our family, my parents were not super traditional people. So my father worked for the UNESCO, and my mother was well educated, and we were always sort of raised that the boy and the girl are the same. So we both have our chores at home. We both have the freedom to do the things that we wanted. So I think growing up, I didn't exactly sort of make the distinction between the boy and the girl. And I always felt that we were treated the same until I grew older. And I don't think that anymore. I think that even that my parents sort of treated us the same, but I don't think that we thought of ourselves exactly the same. I think me as a girl, I always sort of expected myself not to do any mistakes and to be overly nice and pleasant and accommodating and thinking all the time of what other people will think of what I'm saying and what I'm doing and how I look like. And although we were encouraged to be ourselves and we were given freedom, I don't think that I have used this freedom enough. And if I go back, I will probably do things completely differently. So I thought we were treated the same. Maybe we were, but I did not take my freedom to its complete extent, I guess.
Was that, if I could just ask a question on that, that's really interesting. Was that, you think, because of what was going on culturally, like in your, in your home, and I've been to Egypt, and so I understand you're very fortunate to live in more of a, and less of a traditional household where your parents treated you the same. But once you leave your household and you start going to school and you're out in society in Egypt, would you say that maybe that had an impact on you in terms of not spreading your wings?
I don't know. I think it's really hard to understand the why, Elizabeth, unless we go to years and years of therapy. Maybe it was because of my nature, being very serious and wanting to do a good job. And because like my sister who was raised in the very same family, I think she pushed boundaries much more than me, and she said so many no's. I think maybe it's just my nature of wanting to be a good girl.
Nothing wrong with that. I did not want to be a good girl, and I was not. I was like your sister, but that's okay. It's hard being the black sheep of the family, but so that's really, I think that's interesting, and I think you're really lucky to have grown up in an environment that really didn't separate. Gender was not really something that was at the table, and I kind of grew up in the same environment. What age did you feel like a woman? So what was that turning point in your life that made you feel like a woman?
I think maybe very late. So maybe as I grew a lot older, and probably after my divorce, that I started to feel completely independent and completely free to be who I am. And yeah, and the dynamics of also raising my kids as a single woman, and the fact that I left Egypt to take a job in France, I think those very different dynamics that were probably happening at the same time that have contributed to that. And that was actually at a very older age. I mean, after turning 40, so not young enough.
Well, actually, no, I think that everybody arrives at it differently. It's been very interesting having the conversations. And I think that when you go out, I mean, I can only imagine leaving Egypt and going to a country like France or anywhere, leaving Egypt and doing that with children and raising them. I mean, that's just so admirable and courageous. Boy, you're really brave to do that. So, like, as far as I'm concerned, you were much more than a woman, but well, maybe that's the whole thing. Women are so powerful and so
Yeah.
strong and courageous. So that's beautiful. So you had referenced just a minute ago, I would do things differently now. This question, I just love to hear people's answers. If you could go back and speak to Doaa at age 18 and you said, Doaa, what would your message be to her? What would you tell your 18-year-old self?
Yeah, I would actually say so many things, and I guess I said this already to my daughters who are older than 18 today. I think to start with, like we don't want to hear no as an answer. And I tried all the time to do the right things and not even ask for anything because I didn't want to hear the no. But today, how I advise my girls and how I advise others is just like demand things. First of all, feel entitled to have things and to get things. And don't worry so much if people tell you no, and ask for them again and again and again, and just go for it. And what if people tell you no and tell you no again? Maybe they will tell you yes the third time, and maybe you don't even need the permission of people. You just go ahead and do the thing. So and we shouldn't worry too much about being judged. We don't have to worry so much about making mistakes, because making mistakes could be like the best thing ever. Because first of all, you understand that you can do things and you learn from them and you do better the next time. And just worrying about being perfect and pleasing 100,000 people is absolutely the thing that we should do less of. We care for others, we want them to be well, but we don't need the sort of approval of so many people. We don't need that.
I think that's a great message. I think it's a great message. And I couldn't agree with you more, to go back and say, I mean, my biggest thing is, what's the worst thing that someone could say? No. I look at it slightly different. So it's
Yeah.
better to go and ask. And then if they say no, they say no. And yes, you can go back at it, but I think that's a great thing. And you should be proud, because I think, I mean, having that courage to go without the help is something as well. That takes a lot of bravery. Maybe you're a little afraid to ask and get the no, but on the other hand, you're still making things happen. So that's pretty amazing. And I just think that's a great answer. So, this question, I think, correlates so nicely to all of what we're talking about, which is being a woman in today's world. How do you feel about that? And there's so much going on, so I'd love to get your perspective on it on many
Yeah,
different levels.
yeah. I think honestly, Elizabeth, like to start with, some of us have been very, very fortunate during our lives, by having the parents we have, of the friends we have, of the career that we built. But I think we need to be very, very aware and conscious that the lives of so many women is difficult, has been difficult, and will continue to be difficult, and not because we were sort of fortunate or blessed that we stop being aware of this reality. I honestly think that we should devote some of our time when we can to support those women and acknowledge the difficulties that they're going through and give them enough validation, because we don't get enough validation. We sort of doubt ourselves and struggle whether we're doing the right things or not. So this is number one. Number two, I think we learned to depend on ourselves and to measure success by our ability to get by just on our own. And I think it's okay to ask for help, and people want to help. Men and women want to help. So actually, by depending on yourself and not reaching out to others, you're denying them, if I may say, the privilege of feeling meaningful about their lives by helping others. So I always tell my daughters, like, don't be afraid to ask for help. It doesn't sort of discount from your abilities to do things on your own, and feeling accountable and responsible. So, and then the validation. I mean, so many times we don't get enough validated for the feelings we have. And women often doubt themselves even when they're very, very right. So this is why I'm a strong, strong believer in mentorship of women. I think we benefit a lot from mentorship, and we take advice so well, and we take it seriously, and we do things completely differently. And I have been supported by so many women, my sister, my colleagues, my friends, and I'm not afraid or shy to reach out whenever I feel that I need advice. And I think no matter how old we are or how senior we are in our jobs, we always need this kind of validation and support and help, and women are very happy to do it.
Yeah, I think that's such a beautiful answer. I think validation. I think, letting women know. And I think that's the whole one of like our missions is to bring out women's superpowers, because everybody has superpowers regardless of where they are in their life and the struggles they've had getting up every day. And you're right, there are women who are much more fortunate than others, and there's no question about that. And with different types of entitlements and things that but we should never take for granted what being a woman means, and all of the roles and all the things we do to operate in society, to operate in community, to operate at home, and all the things we're doing. And I think of validation. So I think you're right. It's about validating the feelings and making women feel heard, their feelings. But I think it's also validating all of the efforts. That's beyond feelings. So there's the tangible and intangible. The intangible is kind of the feelings, but the tangible is everything they do every day, to your point, that we just take for granted, that women are not only expected to do, but just show up and do. It's our jobs. And so I think that women should validate and lift other women. And that's the whole premise of what we're doing with Under the Sisterhood, is we're here to see, hear, and honor women, and create a space where women feel heard and seen and validated. And we're calling it honored, but I think validation is critical. And I have to tell you something, you know what, Doaa, this might not sound, I mean, there's even fortunate women who've grown, you know, who've been in decent families and have had good careers and haven't been validated in their own homes, you know. So I think that validation isn't, you know, inclusive or exclusive of one sort of struggle or not. I think that this struggle happens to women, all different, you know, cultures, different ages, different environments, different households. So I think that's a wonderful, wonderful thing to bring up. And I love the asking for help. You know, we're always the helpers. We're the caregivers, the caretakers, the carers, everything. We care for everybody else. So I think asking for help's a great message too. So that's really good. So moving on with that. So I think that feeds into the next answer, but so here we are. That's how you feel about being a woman in today's world. What would you change if you could to make life better for women in all cultures and all ages?
Yeah, I think, you know, with the very same token, Elizabeth, I think it's really important to know our rights, because like we expect probably of ourselves much more than what other people expect from us. So for example, like fine, we bring babies to the world, but who said that we have to be the one and only primary caregiver of our kids? I mean, this is a responsibility that the rest of the world look at us as if anything goes wrong, you're responsible. Putting a meal on the table, like who said that this accountability is connected to being a woman? Like, why does this gender has anything to do with cooking for the family and preparing a meal? Nowadays, we're also responsible, financially responsible, to become breadwinner, but this does not eliminate the other two first accountabilities from our to-do list. So you wake up one day and then you have to do it all. Like the rest of the world is expecting you to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and you don't even get a thank you for the work that you're doing, or an acknowledgement that you're going above and beyond. So you go on doing it as if this is your role. And then when you're completely burnt out, like, I mean, what happens? So I think it starts by sort of reframing our role and reframing our accountability, and asking other people, be it the partner, be it the friends, be it the employer, be it I don't know who, to also do their role, and for us to ask for our rights. Why are we underpaid? I mean, whenever you look around, no matter what country you operate in, women are underpaid. Why? Because we don't negotiate our salaries when we first join organizations well. We don't claim our promotions until we feel that we can do this job at 100%, while men sort of raise the hand when they think they can do the job at 60%. So why do we expect ourselves to be perfect and able to do a job 100% before we even claim it? So this is why I say, like, mentoring women is so powerful, because you just need to tell them that, like, oh, why do you believe you need to be able to do a job at 100% before you raise the hand? You say, like, I'm interested in this job. Why do you doubt that you can even do it? And we sort of behave always well, like, not to compare ourselves with others, but like, please compare yourself with others who took a job while they're even less qualified than you are. So things like that, like really understanding your right and getting this education, and then looking at other women who were able to do other things and believing that you have the potential to do those things, and stop doubting yourself and just go for it. And if you make a mistake, fine, you're going to learn from this mistake, and so what? We just expect ourselves to do the right things the first time, and we're so hard on ourselves. So, yeah.
That is a great answer. Reframing the conversation, the rights, the roles. I absolutely love that word, reframing it. I think it's time to reframe that. And that's a lot of, a lot of change, because you're right. We do all these roles and then we take on even more. And I think, I've been a career woman. I've worked my entire life. So, well over 35 years. And what I will tell you is, one thing, for some bizarre reason, I've always been a bold negotiator, and I've had some really, like, no, not good enough. And even I remember going in after having my third child and having a discussion. I had just won the company. I was like the only creative leader winning new business, and I was winning it. Like, they put me on every pitch and I kept winning it. And I was literally paid at and I was a group creative director, paid at an associate creative director's role. I walked into the CFO and I said, you know what, Pat, I love this place, but it's not right. It's not fair. And so he gave me an immediate promotion. And I'm like, come on, that's not industry standard. I said, if you want to pay me that, I'm like, you can pay me that and I'll go back to the other role and I won't be pitching. And so they slowly, they basically took advantage, because I went in there pregnant with my third child, and, and I liked the job and I really enjoyed it. And for whatever reason, it was working. It was not a company that did well by their employees in terms of raises and stuff, but it was a very comfortable environment. So part of that was my fault. But once I got my sea legs after having the third child, I went in and I pushed for it. And then finally I took a meeting and was offered like so much money. Anyway, the truth is that the company, I was there for 7 years and I had a great run there. I did terrific work, worked on big blue chip accounts. But the thing is that they didn't treat me fairly. I was not paid equally to my male counterparts, and I was producing 300 or 400% more. And so anyway, so I ultimately left and went to start something, a funded company. But I think the point is it was huge learning. That was one situation. I negotiated well when I went in. It was just the process of 7 years. I was given the workload and the promotion without the money to go with it. So, by the way, women, do not take a promotion if you don't get paid properly. Stick with the
Absolutely.
job you have. If they don't treat you fairly, don't do it. Do not do it. Stick with where you are. Status is meaningless if you're not getting paid for the effort. So I think that's a great answer. Thank you for that. And sorry if I went off, but I think it's really important to share these stories, because I was always so bold, but that was one instance where I just wasn't, and I just took it. And we shouldn't be taking it. And we will be, in 2023, we will be having all kinds of workshops that help mentor women at various stages in business and in life, bring their superpowers. And one of them will be about how addressing financially in the workplace, how to best advocate for yourself and ensure that you negotiate properly. Because I
Perfect.
think that's really, really important. So this is a little bit of a different question, which is, do you feel part of a sisterhood?
Not in an organized way, Elizabeth, because of course, like we all have, like, I cannot tell you, as I grow older, I value my women friends more and more and more and more, because it's the closest thing you can have to unconditional love. I mean, you want to talk to them, you want to get advice, you want some support, you want emotional support. Like when you want to talk to a person, you're completely fed up and you want a listening ear, no judgment whatsoever. Like I just love it and I appreciate it more and more as I grow older. But is it in a frame? Is it in a structured way where we can help one another? No, not really.
That's interesting. I mean, it's so interesting, because I've spoken with many women, And, I think it's interesting as well when you're living in multiple countries. So you have all these diverse friendships all around. Anyway, the multiple women, some of them have grown up and have maintained those friends at different parts of their lives. So, from their community and, as a child, then going off to college, being part of a sorority and what have you. I've had more of an experience like you where there's no structure, but the women I'm connected with, I just feel so close with, and I feel like I could share anything with. And so it is a sisterhood, but not in the conventional type of way. And I think that that's something that can be really helpful to women, that they should feel that they could talk to any woman and the arms would be open and the embrace would be there, the metaphoric embrace. And then ultimately the embrace, you'd have to get to know them first. But I think it's a tricky thing because it's not always so easy. And in particular in the Western culture, in terms of women, like really supporting and finding and loving women. Do you have any thoughts on that, just from your experience?
My experience has been a very, very positive experience, Elizabeth. I think, like as you said, in different communities that you're part of, you make friends. But I think like we don't stop making friends. I mean, wherever we go, a travel that you do, an organization that you join, and I have so many friends around the world, actually, thanks to my company that has expatriated me to so many parts of the world, and I got to know amazing people who moved themselves countries, but we continue to connect wherever we go. But also, as you go through life, you meet amazing people right and left, and of course there's a homework that needs to be done, which is keeping the relationship alive by connecting to people. And whenever you're traveling to where they live, you make the effort to, it's not effort, actually it's such a pleasure when you travel and meet with the people, or give them a call and understand where they are and how they're doing, and if there's anything that you can do to help, or just having a conversation. So I think we go through life and we accumulate more and more friends, and we need to continue this connection. Otherwise, maybe this friendship will die if you don't talk to people for years or so.
That's a wonderful answer. And I think sisterhood is such a beautiful thing. And I think that the more women embrace, I think the world just becomes better, stronger, and all good. This next question I'm throwing in before we have our last question, which you're aware of. So I'm going to take you on a little curveball, which is, we talk a lot about all the feelings about being a woman, your female experiences. As a woman and as what would you say your superpower is, Doaa? Like, what's your superpower?
Oh, I didn't think about that, Elizabeth. Um, I don't know. I think I have a sort of a can-do attitude. I know I can do things, and if I don't know how, I find a way. So like there's no problem to me that does not have a solution. And I think I'm resourceful enough to reach out and find a way to sort of dissect the problem into pieces, and then finding a way. And I think I'm very sort of positive, and I believe things are possible. So I never sort of faced a problem that I thought it was impossible to find a solution to. I think there's so many possible things to happen, even if it's an ambitious sort of thing that you want to do, you can always get there, like step by step.
That's a great answer. I love it. And sorry for taking you by surprise, but being a can-do woman, are you kidding me? That's killer. That's amazing. So this is the last and final question. And I think it's just one that has really touched me, having all these conversations, because this is a platform for you. We've been honoring and seeing and hearing you, but now you're in a position where you can give a message to women from Doaa, of all ages, of all backgrounds, of all cultures. What's what's the message you would want to tell women of all ages, backgrounds, and cultures?
Yeah, I think the first thing, Elizabeth, like we're not so different from one another. I mean, across different ages, across different cultures, across different religions. I mean, the human being is the human being, and the things that are common amongst us are much, much, much more than our differences. I know it's easier said than done, but I think we have so much doubt on our abilities to do things, and we're so afraid to make mistakes. And my suggestion to women is to just go and try to do the thing. Like, what is the worst that can happen? Okay, we fail, fine, we fail, fine, we try again. And we reach out for help and support because we're not alone. There's always someone who wants to help and take lots of pleasure to add value. And because this is what makes our lives meaningful, is helping one another. So I know that it's difficult to do, but maybe we can try.
That's beautiful. That's just beautiful. This has been just an extraordinary, really wonderful conversation, and I couldn't be more thankful and grateful to have had this time with you. Thank you so much, Doaa.
Thank you, Elizabeth, and I love the work that you're doing. And I am sure there's so many women that are going to benefit from this work. And thank you for leading this amazing work.
I'm so touched. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for listening to Under the Sisterhood. We hope you will join us next episode to honor amazing women from around the world. This podcast is created and hosted by Under the Sisterhood, LLC, and Elizabeth Elfenbein, produced by Elizabeth Elfenbein and Zach Slav, and edited by Zach Slav. The music is by Ayla Schaefer. Her song, Rose.